Here's my thought for the day: stop sneering and keep the faith. Bgles Fraser. I have done thought for the day for many years, and I have loved doing it. The people who work on the slot, on Radio 4's Today program, couldn't be nicer to me personally. And that goes for the presenters too. When I returned from heart surgery recently, they made a special point of welcoming me back. But when it comes to what I believe, they can barely conceal their condescension. And this is not about individual presenters. A culture of sniggering contempt towards religion is endemic within the BBC. And one acceptable way of demonstrating this is to slag off thought for the day. It's deeply boring, complained presenter John Humphreys, with all the critical sophistication of a slovenly adolescent squirming his way through morning prayer, adding the description, "We are now going to hear someone tell us that Jesus was really nice." His sidekick, Justin Webb, complained, "They are all roughly the same," summarizing all thought for the days as, "If everyone was nicer to everyone else, it would be fine." Imagine reading out your thought for the day knowing that all this sneering and smirking is going on right in front of you. If it were just about thought for the day, it might not matter quite so much. Sometimes the slot is good, sometimes it is not so good. But it has become a totem of the BBC's attitude towards faith generally, that it is an embarrassing relative it has had to invite to the party, but one who can be made to sit in the corner, and about whom it is acceptable to make jokes. To the overpaid ponjandrums of the BBC, religion is for the little people, for the stupid and the gullible. And it's easy to play this for laughs to a gallery of those who have read a few chapters of The Selfish Gene, and think this has turned them into philosophical giants. Personally, I don't see the problem with having a slot ring-fenced for a particular subject such as religion. The BBC has several for football, and for science. And then there's Woman's Hour. And quite right too. But for some reason, the very presence of religion, even at the homeopathic levels at which it is entertained by the BBC, is perceived as some sort of insult to the precious, godless secularity of the news. But the news isn't godless, just the people who report on it. About 31% of people in the world are Christians. About 24% are Muslims. About 15% are Hindus. The vast majority of the people on this planet believe in some sort of God. These faiths, and many numerically smaller ones, have shaped world history, ethics, politics and culture like no other force known to humankind. And, for good or ill, people still live and die for their faith. Quite simply, you cannot understand the world unless you understand something about the way that faith functions in the lives of its adherents. Thought for the day is 2 minutes and 40 seconds of God talk in a 3-hour radio program about politics, sport and culture. Discussions about the racing tips often take up as much time as that given over to the world's faiths. You could water things down and make it about ethics or spirituality more generally. Just as you could include different sports on Match of the Day if you wanted to. It's not called Football Match of the Day, after all. But that would be something entirely different. Religion is much more than God-based ethics. This wouldn't make things more inclusive. It would be yet another strategy to edge out the faith perspective from public life. Some argue that roughly half the people in this country don't go in for God, so why have it at all? But that's also a half that does. And what other subject on the program could command that level of engagement? Far from being a uniting force in our country, the scoffers over at the BBC are now widely seen by many people of faith as having taken sides against us in a culture war. Or is bringing people together to thought for the day-ish as an idea? Too comically Reithian? Deeply boring, perhaps? Dr. Giles Fraser is priest in charge at St. Mary's Newington in South London and the former Canon Chancellor of St. Paul's Cathedral. He writes the loose cannon column for The Guardian. If everyone who reads our reporting, who likes it, helps fund it, our future would be much more secure. Support The Guardian, it only takes a minute. Thank you.